My name is Jordan Williams and I'm the Executive Director of the New Zealand Taxpayers Union. Welcome to our Cap Rates Now convoy. Firstly, my sincere apologies that our great, big, beautiful, big rig Cap Rates Now truck has unfortunately broken down in front of the LGNZ AGM and conference. Deeply embarrassing that it would park in such a convenient spot. Introduce my colleagues. Tackle Council Tax Tory over here, who's a head of, Tory Ralph is the head of communications at the Taxpayers Union, and Reasonable Rates Ruth. Where's Ruth? Ruth Richardson behind me, who is the chair of the Taxpayers Union, and also a ratepayer in Selwyn. The Mayor of Selwyn, of course, being the chair of Local Government New Zealand, who arrived this morning with a very, very grumpy face, seeing our beautiful big Cap Rates Now rig.
Where's TVNZ1?
I don't know. We've got. Well, I think they'll follow the minister around. So I hope with the minister there, and of course we're recording as well. So last week, our local government campaigns manager Sam put the message around the team and said he's finished the first draft of the rates dashboard. If you've not seen it, and make sure you're sitting down, ratesdashboard.nz. And he said that there was, he said something about the council rates increasing over 3 years, 34.5%. And I thought, holy moly, which council has put up rates by more than a third in just 3 years? We're going to hammer that mayor and hammer that council. Friends, that isn't one council. That's the average council have put rates up by more than a third. I'm sorry, but that is simply unsustainable. It is unaffordable. You work hard, you pay your mortgage, and then councils are coming along and literally taxing people out of their homes. And that is what we are fighting. Now, I've had the good fortune of being up since 4:30 this morning to, of course, assist with this terrible breakdown of said big rig. And Tory, Matt and I have been here as the councillors have been walking in and seeing this big rig. And there's been, I'll be fair to say, a few sort of grumpy faces. The Mayor of Wellington, who's looked a bit like a cat's bottom when she saw that. She said something under her. I didn't quite catch it. I think she said that her head's not big enough, or something like that, when she saw the picture. But they do not like being named and shamed. But I make absolutely no apology when you are putting up these numbers here, the top 15. That is the rates increases just for this year. The average more than 3 times inflation. And this is the election year. What's next year going to look like, especially when the government is now starting to talk very sensible policy around rates capping, that our risk now, that they know that's coming, or may be coming, is that if you tell a monopolist that a price control is coming, but you get to reset your prices between now and then, what's going to happen? We're staring down the barrel of enormous rates increases next year, and that's why we're emphasising cap rates now. It's got to be done prior to the local body elections, we say. So the reason I was telling you about the councils or the mayors looking pretty, it's quite funny when you councillors come up to you at events like this and they go, oh, you're from the Taxpayers Union. And they look over their shoulder and go, keep up the good work, and run away. So there is a couple of them in there that do agree with us. The reason we also wanted to hold this event is we discovered about 2 weeks ago, and this is my colleague Sam Warren again, this memorandum that they'd sent round all the councils, basically, at least frankly, in a panic, that they say they need to keep control of their ability to set rates. And they held this morning, as part of their AGM, they're dancing on the head of the pin that it wasn't a remit, it was just a vote, whatever. But 82% of councils voted for LGNZ to fight this, to fight us and to fight the government now that the government's come out and said that in principle they support some sort of rates capping. So let's just step back. You have a fully ratepayer funded lobby group, and look, I run a lobby group. I'm not against lobby groups, but they're ratepayer funded, fighting the very interests and policy that ratepayers overwhelmingly support. We say that is outrageous, and we make no apology for calling it out. And we're told that the Mayor of Waitomo and the Mayor of Nelson, Nick Smith, were the only two that stood up this morning and said, hey guys, this isn't right. This is not the one that, mayors advocating, you already get a big public platform, fair enough. But for this organisation to be spending ratepayer resources fighting the government on this is wrong. And I say good on them, but unfortunately that vote went through. They're fudging it slightly. They're saying they're not going to spend money until after they have an SGM and after the election, things like that. I think that might be because we're here, but that's what they decided. First, obviously, on the rates capping. What does rates capping look like? Our preference is the Australian model when it's tied to inflation. And if you want to go higher than that, because look, let's be frank, there will be circumstances where you will need to. The Christchurch quake, Hastings District Council with their flooding, where you might need, or there might be a big project. But we say you need the public mandate through local referenda if you want to bust through that inflation cap. Number two, we want a common, this is a bit nerdy, I'm sorry, but a common general ledger. The Taxpayers Union for more than a decade have put together Ratepayers Report. And let me tell you, it's as if, and I think they are, as if they are trying to make apples and apples comparisons difficult, where every single council classifies assets, their valuations, their expenses in different classifications in every single different accounting system. And so they say, oh, well, that's too hard for us to get that information. That is a simple change that would mean that you could actually compare apples to apples financial information. Number three, remove the power of general competence. Now, until 2002, every dollar spent by a council had to link back to one of their statutory responsibilities. From then, they can actually do whatever they like. And what the government is proposing, the excellent announcements yesterday from Minister Watts, is saying we want to make sure they're focusing more on the core. Well, that's good, but what would be better is to make them focus purely at the core services. Tell the councils what they're responsible for and ensure that our rates go towards that, because it is that out of control, non-core, some call it the nice to have, some would call it just piddling away $2 million on a disco loo like Wellington did, as not core services. Let's get them back to basics. The government is saying we need to get councils back to basics, so let's make sure the law actually states that, removing the power of general competence. Number four, the Ratepayer Bill of Rights. That is requiring the financial transparency, the long-term planning, open and honest, in the same way as we expect from governments thanks to Ruth's Fiscal Responsibility Act. We need the equivalent in local councils so ratepayers and the public and the media can actually figure out what's going on. Performance benchmarking. This is a win. The announcement and the bill that was released by the government yesterday puts this in place. The devil's in the detail, but it will mean that the government is setting here are fundamental questions every council must be answering so we can benchmark against each other. Number six, we want recall elections. It is outrageous that local body politicians can stand, these are common around the world, or can discredit themselves, and there's no way we can get rid of them. We've got to wait 3 years. We say with a high threshold, a petition, we should be able to have recall elections, a common democratic accountability tool used throughout the world. Number seven, apply this radical idea of the Fair Trading Act to local councils. So if you go into a store and you're lied to, if someone in the private sector acts in a misleading or deceptive manner, they could have the Commerce Commission come after them. That's against the law. Incredibly, local government New Zealand don't want a law that says that local councils shouldn't be able to lie to you or mislead the public. Now, you can call taxpayers union radical, things like that, but hang on. It's not unreasonable to expect that local government, a monopoly provider in most of the things they do, should be held to exactly the same standard as any private business. And we say that the relevant provisions of the Fair Trading Act that prohibit misleading and deceptive conduct should be extended on to local government. There is one pushback that the officials don't like on this. They say, oh, but that would mean it would apply to advice we give councillors, and we wouldn't, but we'd have to be very careful it wasn't misleading. Great. That sounds like a benefit, not a bug. The reform of the LGOMA. This is the local government equivalent of the Official Information Act. Frankly, it's broken. Was a very good piece of legislation when it was passed in 1980 something, but it does need to be refreshed because it's not, we would argue, as the largest user of the Act, not as fit for purpose. Number 9, similarly, improving. This is another win for us that the government has announced. Only the Taxpayers Union has been harping on about this for coming up 12 years. Let's say you want to be a company director. How could you be an effective company director without the statutory right to information held by the company? And yet that's exactly what we expect from councillors. Now, I know there's a few elected officials in there that don't like the Taxpayers Union very much, but this is actually to help them, because it's all very well for us to elect good people or for us to try to hold local government elected members to account. But when it is the chief executives that are determining what information councillors are receiving, when it is in an environment where chief executives say, look, I'm sorry, councillor, that's an operational matter. You're not entitled to that information. How on earth can we expect good quality governments, good quality decision makers? So credit where credit's due. Mr. Watts, I don't think his office knew that this was actually not only our idea, we'd done a bill on it about a decade ago, but they've picked up the idea. It doesn't matter who's behind it, it's going to happen. That's a huge win. That's number 9. And the last one is collaboration of services. We say at the Taxpayers Union, not going to fight amalgamation, but we do say, looking at the Auckland Super City, be careful what you wish for. We say increase collaboration where it makes sense, particularly in horizontal infrastructure, increase collaboration for efficiency, as opposed to go for blatant amalgamation, because some amalgamation of services is great, but that ability for a local community to hit the pull the ripcord or hit the emergency escape button is a very good control on the super entities, regional entities getting out of control. And that's basically where we ended up with our alternate to 3 waters, which the government has largely adopted. That co-governed regionalisation was not a recipe for lower water costs. Regionalisation with the ability for communities to be able to pull out as an important safeguard, we are far more comfortable with, and obviously with ultimate control resting in democratic hands as opposed to unelected co-governance.